If you were told at the start of the season that the Indiana Pacers would be 13th in the East with less than a month to go in the regular season, you'd probably be surprised. For the past few years, the Pacers have been one of the more consistent teams in the Eastern Conference. They've had deep teams, and they got the job done on both ends of the floor, but they were never a threat to win a championship. On top of that, there was nothing to be overly excited about with this roster. They were not a very fun team to watch. They didn't have a top pick on their roster just oozing with potential, and while Sabonis was an all-star level player for them, he's not someone you build your team around in the hopes of winning titles or making deep playoff runs. That being said, it was time to make changes in Indiana, and they couldn't have shaken up their roster any better than they did at the deadline. The Pacers brought in Buddy Hield, Jalen Smith, and Tyrus Halliburton, three players that have not only made this team more fun to watch, but who have also given Pacers fans hope of brighter days ahead. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about the positive signs this new look Pacers team has shown, and I'll explain why this team will be back in playoff contention next season.
Murray, inside, incredible!
LeBron James with no regard for human life.
They do have a timeout, decide not to use it. Curry, way downtown, bang! Bang! Oh, what a shot from Curry!
The main reason why Indiana's future looks so bright is because of Tyrus Halliburton's play. Since joining the Pacers, Halliburton has completely changed the way this team plays. Tyrus loves to push the ball ahead in transition, and that tendency makes his teammates run the floor extremely hard. Whether he's starting a fast break off a rebound, countering quickly after the opposing team gets a bucket, or getting out in transition after getting a steal, he's always looking to play at a fast pace and get his team easy scores. In half-court situations, Halliburton is just as deadly because he sees the floor so well. He does a great job of shifting the defense with his eyes before he makes the pass to his intended target, and in most cases he's one step ahead of the defense when he does this. Halliburton's ability to break down the defense also simplifies the game for his teammates because he puts them in positions where they either have to shoot or swing the ball to the next available man. His teammates don't have to worry about running the offense, playing in the pick and roll, or taking their man one-on-one. Instead, they can take a back seat and act as the finishers of plays rather than being the initiators. Tyrus is still a young player, so he's going to have some bad turnovers as he tries to pick apart the defense, but his good plays heavily outweigh his bad ones. On top of being Indiana's best passer, Halliburton has been their best scorer as well. What makes him so deadly is his three-point shot. Whether he's taking a catch-and-shoot three or shooting one off the dribble, he's extremely efficient from beyond the arc. Because he shoots the three so well, defenses have to respect him from out there, which opens up driving lanes for him. However, Tyrus is not someone that only scores within the flow of the offense. If the Pacers need a bucket, Halliburton is more than capable of knocking down a deep three or taking his man off the dribble and hitting a tough shot. I don't think Halliburton is an ideal number one option going forward, just because he doesn't draw many fouls, but if Indiana can acquire a go-to scorer, whether that be through the draft or from a trade, Halliburton would be one of the best secondary scorers in the league. Clearly, Tyrus Halliburton is an elite offensive player, but he's also really good on defense. As I mentioned, Halliburton has great court vision on the offensive end, and that awareness translates over to the defensive side of the ball. He has fantastic instincts which help him get into passing lanes. He does a great job of providing blindside help and poking balls loose, and because he's such a smart player, he can be an aggressive, active defender without costing his team. Take this play against the Bucks, for example. On this play, Nwora has a height advantage on the smaller Sykes, so Tyrus comes over to provide help. Initially, Halliburton was going for the steal because Nwora's back was turned to him, but even though he's unsuccessful in doing that, he forces Nwora to pick up his dribble. Since Nwora is being doubled, he makes the pass to Halliburton's man who is now open, but Halliburton does an amazing job of recovering back to his man under control. Because of this, Wigington doesn't get the catch-and-shoot three that he wanted, and he has to take a tough step-back three instead. This play won't show up on any highlight reels because Tyrus isn't getting a crafty steal or a massive block, and on top of that his man does score on him, but he's playing smart, disciplined defense here, and that's what's most important. Tyrus Halliburton is a great two-way player, and the fact that he's only 22 years old makes him that much more exciting. He's the best player on this team, and he's rightfully receiving a lot of attention for his play, but what gets forgotten about is that there are other enticing young guys on this roster. Chris Duarte, Isaiah Jackson, Jalen Smith, Oshae Brissett, Goga Bitadze, Terry Taylor, and Dwayne Washington are all below the age of 25, and they've all shown plenty of ability. I like Chris Duarte's potential as a scorer. I think Jackson and Brissett can become great defensive pieces, and Jalen Smith has shown an ability to score on the inside and from the perimeter. Moving on, Goga may not be the most athletically gifted player, but he has some unique skills for a player his size. Terry Taylor plays so much bigger than he actually is, and he frequently makes strong hustle plays, and Dwayne Washington is a capable perimeter scorer for this team. When you consider that Indiana has a sharpshooting vet in Buddy Hield, a versatile two-way player in Miles Turner, and two experienced guards in McConnell and Brogdon as well, you can see the makings of a very balanced roster that can run many different lineups. While there are plenty of good things to say about this new look Pacers team, they do have their fair share of weaknesses. First of all, this team does not have a versatile offensive attack. Even though they've been scoring more points since the trade deadline, they've been far too reliant on Tyrese Halliburton. When Tyrese plays, the Pacers get a lot of easy looks in transition, their half-court offense is a lot less stagnant, and they have a player that can create something out of nothing. However, when he sits, the team is a shell of themselves, and they really struggle to get good shots. While you could argue that any team is going to get worse when their star player sits, it should at least be within reason. If a team becomes too dependent on one player, defenses can either A, force the ball out of that player's hands and make his teammates beat them, or B, take away passing lanes and force the star player to win the game entirely by themselves. Either way, it puts too much of a burden on either the supporting cast or the star player, and good teams don't allow defenses to scheme against them like that. Malcolm Brogdon fits the mold of a player that can complement Halliburton. Unfortunately, he's been in and out of the lineup since Halliburton's joined the team, and given his age, the Pacers may trade him as early as this offseason. Another issue with this team is their defensive consistency. Besides Halliburton, I wouldn't consider any of their other young guards to be positive defenders just yet, but strong interior defense can make up for inconsistent perimeter defense, and the Pacers have a few intriguing frontcourt players that can protect the paint. To give you an idea of what these young guys are capable of, I want to roll a few clips on the screen. What sticks out immediately is the athletic gifts that these young players have. Whether they're chasing someone down from behind or rotating over to protect the paint, some of these blocks are very impressive. Whenever Miles Turner returns from injury, the Pacers will have a bevy of shot blockers on their team, which could make them a tough matchup for anyone. However, Indiana will only be viewed as a team with defensive potential until they stop making poor judgment plays. In this clip, Smith is matched up against a much shorter Grayson Allen, but instead of relying on his height to stop Allen, Smith leaves his feet, which puts his team in a vulnerable situation. Goga then has to come over to help, which inevitably leaves Giannis open for the putback dunk. On this play, Jackson jumps on a Wendell Carter pump fake, even though he's just a 32% three-point shooter, and it leads to a breakdown of the defense and an open corner three for Wagner. In this game against the Wolves, Brissett makes a similar mistake to the one I just showed Jackson making. After coming off the screen, Hield and Thompson are in pretty good position defending the pick and roll, yet Brissett comes over to provide help when it's not necessary. What makes things worse is that he's providing help on a poor mid-range shooter in Edwards and leaving a good three-point shooter in Beverly wide open. On top of these kinds of defensive mishaps, Indiana does a very poor job of playing transition defense. I could continue to show more and more clips, but the point is that they have a number of players that need to work on their defensive discipline. There is plenty of defensive upside on this team, but until they're able to execute on a regular basis, they'll continue to have lots of games where they allow 120 to 130 points. Even though the Pacers have gone just 4-10 with their new look roster, they're clearly much happier than they were prior to the trade deadline. This organization did not want to fully embrace tanking, but they were also tired of being a mediocre team that didn't have much room for growth. Now they have an intriguing young core that's centered around a rising star in Tyrese Halliburton, and on top of that, they have veterans like Miles Turner, Buddy Hield, TJ McConnell, and possibly Malcolm Brogdon if they decide to hold on to him. The Pacers will also be getting a good selection in the 2022 draft, which would only add to the nice foundation they already have. There is a nice mix of young and established talent on this roster, and as I discussed earlier, I think that talent could gel quite nicely together once everyone is back into the fold. At full health, Indiana has a very deep roster, And just like the Cavs snuck up on everyone this year, I wouldn't be surprised if the Pacers do something similar in 2023. Anyways, that's going to be all for today's video. Make sure to like, subscribe, and leave your thoughts down in the comments below. And with all that being said, I'm out, and I'll see you in the next video.